little shindig. So some quick housekeeping items. We'll be presenting about 30 minutes of content today with some time for Q&A at the end. All attendees will be on mute. Please use the question tab if you'd like to communicate with the presenter or myself during the webinar. And we invite you to tweet during the webinar, #SimWebinar. A little info about SimPartners. Velocity is our SaaS solution local CMS that increases local, mobile, and social visibility at a local level. Our Velocity social platform is a social CRM that promotes fan engagement at a local level. Now let me introduce our presenters, Jay Hawkinson and Deanna Sandman. Jay is one of our founding partners, and Deanna oversees our social initiatives here at SimPartners.
Hi, everyone. So today we're going to cover how to use Facebook advertising to increase your paid, organic, and earned reach. And just before we get into that, and I want to talk about some best practices before I turn it over to Deanna to get a deeper dive into Facebook advertising, I wanted to talk about some of the changes that have been happening with Facebook advertising. And there's been a lot of changes just in the past year alone. But I'm here to tell you that everything is going to be okay, and everything, so you don't have to worry about this as long as you apply some of these best practices. And I think David Bowie kind of illustrates changes pretty well, but for some maybe I'd be anyway. So for the ever-changing platform of Facebook, earlier in the year, they announced a major overhaul to the newsfeed, which was pretty significant. And that was followed by a few changes or updates to the algorithm. And then there were more features for app ads, and then that was followed by updates to the buying and reporting tools. Another big update was they changed Insights to actually make it insightful. And if you had any experience with Insights prior to that, you probably can relate and know that the changes that they did make, the updates that they made to Insights are extremely useful now, especially for advertising. Just in October, they announced the retargeting capabilities, so no longer going to a third party to do that. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that actually works with their advertising platform. And then, of course, updating custom audiences and making them available in General Ads Manager. So what does this mean for you, and what do you need to know about this in regards to advertising? One of the big things with the newsfeed update and the overhaul is the ability to add bigger images into the newsfeed. And being an advertiser, just being a Facebook user, you probably know that images are extremely important, and people like to see and usually stop when they see a great image. So being able to incorporate these into your advertising is a big deal. Now people, again, you've got a compelling image, if you've got something that's interesting, that's fun, you've got a greater likelihood of actually people stopping and actually checking out your ad. Also, they updated how people can actually view their news feed and customize that feed based on what they want to see, based on their, if they want to see posts by their friends or family, things that they like, pages that they follow. So again, that's another big change with the news feed. The algorithm itself, and you've probably seen this when you go into Facebook, is that they've allowed for bumping, story bumping, which is really, it is also nice because if there's a lot of engagement on a post, and it could be an advertising post in this case, but if there's a lot of engagement on something, it's going to get a higher placement in the newsfeed. And this is great when you're really trying to, get something through and get it in front of as many people in your audience as possible. The Insights I talked about, I mentioned briefly, is that they did make some updates to the Insights, and again, prior to this update, it was okay, but when you're doing advertising and you've got a budget and you're trying to manage that budget and you're trying to really see how it's performing against, how the ads are performing against each other and trying to measure what's happening, with your advertising. You definitely want to be able to have, some good insights for that and be able to measure that and say, okay, when are, my followers online? When are my followers most engaged with, with Facebook? So, again, it's some big changes with Insights, and if you haven't actually gone in and haven't seen it recently, it's definitely worth a look, and you're definitely going to want to look at Insights if you're running multiple campaigns. Now, the algorithm change was a pretty big deal. And you know, there was a couple updates to the algorithm in this past year, and where it used to be known as EdgeRank, it's now, you know, now Facebook is actually, you know, basically just using over 1,000 different factors to influence what's showing up in the newsfeed. And rather than focusing on all these different factors, because there's quite a few, you know, really going back to what, you know, the formula for EdgeRank and looking at, you know, weight plus affinity plus time, you know, and looking at those kind of those factors, because that's still a huge part of what's, you know, how things are showing up in the newsfeed. So again, you know, it's focusing on the big things and trying not to get, you know, too far into the weeds in terms of all these individual factors in the algorithm. Another thing that's great is the fact that you know, now Facebook is really giving a better priority or a higher priority to good quality content, and really, you know, squashing a lot of the stuff that just isn't that great. You know, it might be fun in some cases, but, you know, again, how relevant is it to what you're doing? How relevant is it to your business, excuse me? And, you know, again, Facebook is getting better and better at pushing up higher quality content. Another improvement was the ability to add multiple photos to your advertising campaigns. And, you know, rather than being, you know, stuck with, you know, doing one, trying it, switching out with another, now you can push up several images at the same time, and that way you can actually test against those images and say, okay, you know, we've got, you know, 5 images up there, which one is performing better, and, you know, take down the ones that aren't performing, and then, you know, push, you know, the one that is doing well with your audience. So this is definitely great, you know, especially for testing on the platform. Another change that happened this year was, you know, Facebook moving towards objective-based ad buying and reporting. And this is really great because it's kind of simplified that process, because when you're putting an ad in Facebook and you want it to show up in the news feed, or you want it to show up in the right side rail, you know, ultimately what's the goal? Do you want to get more page likes, or are you trying to get people to your website, or you're trying to get some social interaction? You can do that now. You can actually do that through the ad creation process and create that type of objective. So it's really nice, you know, update with the platform. And then also I mentioned this, the new targeting capabilities, retargeting within Facebook through Facebook as opposed to going to third party, which was announced in October. So I think this is going to be significant for a lot of advertisers in Facebook. So, you know, with Facebook, when somebody goes into their news feed, it's possible to see, you know, 1,500 stories. And, you know, for you, you know, for an advertiser, if you're wanting to advertise and be in Facebook, it's important to kind of cut through that, because you're competing against your friends and your family, friends and families posts. You're competing against other things that people like and follow on Facebook. And really, you know, it's you know, how do you stand out? And one of those ways really is to apply best practices to your advertising in Facebook. And, you know, it's not that, you know, again, it's not that hard, but it's better to apply them up front so you don't destroy your campaigns, you know, when you actually kick off your, you know, when you're actually in the campaign. So best practices, you know, I look at this as being, you know, a lot of these, you know, some of you might, you know, you may already be applying to your campaigns. And I look at it, again, as a checklist, as something that, you know, again, how are you, when you're creating these campaigns, when you're setting them up and you're thinking about your strategy and your schedule, you know, how are each one of these items being applied to your advertising? Having a strong call to action, offers and discounts if it's applicable, fun and compelling images and content. And, you know, the old saying where an image is a photo's worth 1,000 words, you know, could it be more true with Facebook? You know, when you've got, you know, over 50% of your users accessing Facebook on a mobile device, when people don't have all the time to spend on Facebook, you know, looking at their news feed and they're scrolling through it really quickly, if you've got that really fun and engaging, compelling image, you know, that's really a way to get somebody to pause and take a look at your ad. So again, images are extremely important. Also, in addition to that, the post that you have on your own page, thinking about the image that you use when you're posting content to your page, because if you do get engagement in that post from your own page, it's likely you're going to want to sponsor that post and push that post out there. So if you're already starting with a great image, you know, you're already halfway there. So again, think about that. Keeping your ads fresh and engaging, of course, you know, that's extremely important. You know, you don't want to have stale content out there, stale advertising out there. Think about, you know, what's current and you know, in terms of, you know, what you do as a business, whether, you know, again, it's a service or a product, making sure that it's for us so people, you know, again, people aren't, you know, going to have like a negative reaction to something you might put out there. Localizing your ads, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a moment, but making, you know, putting local content if you've got multiple campaigns, multiple locations, very, very important. Being relevant, again, you know, putting, you know, sometimes you'll see it, and not as much anymore, but occasionally I'll see businesses that'll put advertising out there, and I'm like, what are they doing, or why are they, you know, advertising this, or why are they pushing this out there when it's really not relevant to what they do? So think about that when you're you know, coming up with your campaigns and your overall strategy. And I would also add to this to be flexible. It's not listed on here, but I think it's extremely important when you think about social media as this moving target. It's always changing, and you know, it's really about being in that moment. You know, what people are doing at that moment, what people are talking about, or what conversations are having. So being flexible and saying, oh wow, this just happened, or this is something that, you know, applies to what we do as a business, and being able to create some advertising around it. So have some flexibility in your schedule. You know, is always important when coming up with your strategy. Just to, you know, looking at an ad in the news feed and breaking it down, you know, has a lot of these, you know, a good ad's going to have a lot of these elements, having an engaging image, the local content and incentive, call to action, the social interaction. Think about that again. Apply the best practices as a checklist. So when you're going through and you're creating your ads, you're touching on all these different items. I mentioned localizing your ads, and again, I think this is, you know, really important, especially now because of how local Facebook is becoming, especially with graph search and some other things. That, you know, with having something that is local in nature, again, is another way to get somebody to look at what you're advertising. And it works for me, you know, when I see my own newsfeed, and I can go through all day and see lots of different advertising. But if I see something that, you know, is my neighborhood or my city or the town, or things that apply, you know, that are very local, then yeah, I'm going to stop and take a look at that. And again, it may not apply in every case, but you know, if you've got, you know, again, multiple locations, multiple campaigns, think about how you can actually tie, you know, some local content into that. And you know, already just having a local page, if you've got, you know, many locations, is already showing that you're going to get, you know, better engagement and more reach. You know, again, you can apply that to your advertising and get more out of your advertising with that. For inspiration, there's a lot of great companies that are already, you know, providing some advertising that is worth a look and getting a lot of engagement. And you know, it's worth noting that, you know, again, if you look at them, what's causing people to engage? Why are people excited about, you know, certain ads that are out there? You know, it could be an image. You know, there could be some emotional tie, it could be messaging. But again, look at what, you know, who's doing some effective advertising, and think about how you can incorporate that into your own advertising. So in terms of getting you know, more out of this and getting, you know, taking this really to the next level and getting more advanced with the advertising, you know, there is a tool within Facebook that you can use. And ultimately, I mean, you do have the power, and it's called the Power Editor. And I'm going to have Deanna talk about that and get, you know, more into how you can get more out of your advertising.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. Love the He-Man reference there. So Power Editor managing Facebook advertising on their own. So where can you find it? If you go into your Ads Manager, there on the left-hand side in those tabs, you'll see Power Editor. As long as you're using Chrome, then you're good to go. If not, you're going to need to download Chrome, the web browser, in order to use Power Editor. Yeah, you can click on it from right there, and it will launch, and you'll be able to manage your campaigns there. So some of the, you know, biggest benefits, there's a lot with Power Editor, but I'm just going to cover a few that I find really beneficial and that can help you, you know, get your ads out there in the news feed and, you know, a little more visibility, reach, and engagement on your advertising. So this is more of just a beneficial as far as managing your campaigns. But the Power Editor actually allows you to edit multiple ads at once. And if you're an advertiser that works with a lot of, you know, campaigns and advertisements, then you know how time-consuming and annoying it can be to manage through the Ads Manager itself. You actually have to go into each individual ad if you want to make an update. if you want to change your targeting, anything like that, you have to go into each individual ad. But the Power Editor actually allows you to select multiple ads, and then you can edit it from there. So if you have multiple ads that have the same targeting and you want to refresh that targeting, you can choose all of those ads and then go in and edit that targeting from within Power Editor. So really great feature that I recommend you take advantage of, just to save you some time. And then Power Editor also allows you to do some more advanced targeting. Again, when we talk about getting into the newsfeed and boosting the reach of your ads, you want to make sure that you're reaching the right audience. If you're just gaining exposure to gain exposure, that might not be a great thing. You want to make sure you're reaching the potential audience for your product or service. So partner categories is a really great way to do this. This is something that Facebook works with Acxiom, Datalogix, and Epsilon to come up with these different categories. There's so many different categories in there, but some of them, demographics, purchase behavior, people that have purchased cars recently, even as far as people that are more likely to purchase certain types of cars, lifestyle categories, interests, and more. So definitely want to check that out. And then here's just an example of one of our clients who's in the home security services. We were actually able to go into those categories and target homeowners. This is not a category within Facebook, so there's no way for us through the regular ads manager to make sure that we are targeting homeowners. So, putting those ads out there, we may not be reaching somebody that actually needs our service. But through partner categories, we can actually hone in on those people that have even recently bought a home and might be in need of home security. And then here's just an example of that in action and the engagement that we were able to get on those ads. So this, again, very underutilized. This is something that talk about saved target groups really quick first, but a really helpful feature if, again, you have a specific audience that you're regularly advertising to. You can set up that advertising group on one ad and then save it and use it later again. So for us, when we're doing our advertisements, we want to target maybe people that are interested in digital marketing. So I can create that targeting subset of interests, and then I can save it. And sorry about that. Got something starting here. So I can save it and then use it again on all of the ads that it's applicable to. And then with custom audiences, this is a great feature that actually allows you to take your own emails that you've collected, phone numbers, user IDs, or mobile advertiser IDs, and then upload those into Facebook and create audiences based on that data set. So Facebook will actually take the email addresses and then match it to all of the the users within Facebook. It's about a 50% match rate, but it also depends on your industry. So some industries may have a higher match rate and some may have a lower match rate. But again, a really great feature. And then here's just an example of custom audiences in action, and this is Fab.com. They actually encourage customers to log in with Facebook when you get to their website. And once you log in with Facebook, they have your user ID. So they're actually able to track everything that you do on their website. So if you're looking at particular products, if you looked at some products but you didn't end up purchasing, they can actually segment out the audience, put them into different buckets, and then upload those user IDs into Facebook and retarget to the potential customers. So again, when we were talking about getting your ads into the newsfeed, which is where 95% of the engagement happens, Power Editor actually allows you to specify the placement of your ads. So if you find that ads within the newsfeed are working really well for you and getting a lot of engagement, then you can actually go into Power Editor and specify that you only want your ads to show up in the newsfeed. You can make it show up in the newsfeed on desktop and mobile. You can make it show up in the newsfeed just on mobile, or vice versa. So there's a lot of options here. And I really recommend that you check out your reporting. Facebook actually breaks out reporting now by placement. So you can look at your ads You can have an ad that's set up to, be displayed in all Facebook. So that could be right-hand side, that could be newsfeed on desktop, and also newsfeed on mobile. And then go into reporting, check the placement reporting, and you can see where you're getting the most engagement. So you may want to cut out maybe right rail ads if those aren't performing well, if they're not converting, if they're not getting a lot of clicks, and then you can see that and you can do that. Also mobile devices, being able to specify which mobile devices you want to display your ad on. This is really helpful for advertisers that are advertising mobile apps. So your app may be only for iOS devices. You're not going to want to advertise it on Android or vice versa. So really, really helpful. And also, again, there was a study by Adobe that actually showed that desktop newsfeed ads yield 14% greater click-through rate than right rail ads. Mobile newsfeed ads generate 28% higher click-through rates with 42% lower cost per click. So you can see why it might be really beneficial for you to specify your placement in the newsfeed. So even more power with social context. This is crucial for Facebook advertising, and I will tell you why in just a moment. This is a recent article from Search Engine Watch that actually states that Facebook admits that Facebook pages can expect their organic reach to continue to decline. If you were following any of the marketing blogs over the past year or so, you'll know that a lot of people were up in arms when Facebook began to change their algorithm and actually, limited the organic reach of page posts. Kind of their play in order to get people into advertising and to make more money, which makes sense for Facebook, may not be a great thing for Facebook managers. But as Jay said earlier, every time somebody visits their newsfeed, there's a potential of 1,500 stories to show up in the newsfeed. Facebook's obviously not showing all of those stories. So how can you, get your posts into the newsfeed and gain back some of that exposure? Gain back some of that organic reach is with the power of social context. So another study by Adobe shows that page like stories, page post stories, and other sponsored stories actually have a much higher click-through rate and a lower cost per click. So these ads are more engaging than the standard ads that do not include social context. And what I mean by social context, I'll show you in a minute here. And here's kind of an example here. You can see that on the top of this ad, a lot of my friends like this page. It's because it's our page, obviously. But having that social context on there makes me more likely to like the page as well or engage with the ad. So I really encourage you, when you're creating your ads, make sure you click the button that says Sponsored Stories. So once you turn on these sponsored stories, you'll be able to create those ads that show up with the social context. What it does is actually create two ads, a standard like ad and a sponsored like ad. And if you want, you can actually turn off the standard ad and just go with the sponsored story like ad for that increased engagement. And then here's just an example again. So my friends Brad and Lauren like Starbucks. Maybe I should like them too. They probably offer some good deals on their page. That's kind of what I'm thinking when I see an ad that is basically a recommendation from my friend. So what if you want to run a specific type of sponsored story? Back to the Power Editor, you can actually specify what kind of sponsored story you want to run. On the regular Ads Manager, it kind of lumps them all into one, so you're going to get sponsored stories for any kind of engagement on your posts or if somebody likes your page. But in the Power Editor, you can specify if you only want to run sponsored stories about people commenting on your posts in order to maybe increase comments on that post and can't leave out the new newsfeed ads. Traditionally, Facebook only allowed you to advertise in the newsfeed by sponsoring a page post or page like post. Now they actually allow you to do advertisements that direct off-site. So you can actually direct to a landing page or your website and create an ad around that does not show up on your Facebook page. So really cool new ad type that you can utilize to get back into the news feed and gain back some of that exposure. Again, the majority of fan engagement takes place in the news feed, so this makes all the sense in the world. And then when we talk about adding social context, these ads are great because they act just like a page post, but they're not shown on your page wall. So if you're worried about, I don't want to post all of these updates that look very, ad-like on your Facebook page, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You can create these ads through the ads manager. They won't show up on your page, but they will look just like a page post, and they actually allow people to like them, comment on them, and share them. And this is a really great example because it has 145 likes, 4 comments, and 101 shares. So they're getting a lot of exposure just from putting this out there. And some of that's going to be organic exposure as well, because Facebook looks at how engaging the page itself is, how many people are engaging with their content, how many people are coming to their page. So gaining this engagement on your Facebook ads only helps your organic reach when you're posting something like, have a great Friday on your Facebook page. And then all of this is really great, but how are you going to track it? Facebook actually allows you to use conversion tracking, again, something that I think not everybody is utilizing because they may think it's a little too complicated or they don't know how to set it up, but it's really very easy. You can go into your ads manager and then on the left-hand side, click on conversion tracking. You can set up, there's several different categories. You can track leads, you can track actual purchases, whatever it is that you would like to track, you can do it through this. So once you create that pixel, you just copy the pixel and then put it onto your website in the header. So if you have somebody that manages your website, they'll know exactly what to do, and just copy and paste this, put it in there. And you'll want to do this on the page. So if you're tracking leads, it will be on the thank you page after somebody's filled out the lead form. If it's a purchase, then it will be on the thank you page once they've completed a purchase. And then Facebook will actually be able to track who's coming from which ad and how many people are converting. So where you can see that, you can actually see it right from within the campaign view, which is a really great update that Facebook made this year. So you can, right from the campaign view, see which ads are converting. Maybe you'll want to pause some that aren't converting well, and maybe you'll want to put some more money towards the ones that are converting well. So it's really a great way for you to very easily see that. And then also, Jay talked about the update to reporting. From the reporting tab, Facebook actually breaks out several different pre-made reports that you can look at. There's a conversion report that has all of the data points that you would want if you're tracking conversions. And there's several. I talked about the placement report as well. That's where you can find that. So really great stuff in reporting, so definitely check all of that out. Now I'll hand it back over to Jay. What else?
Thanks, Deanna. It's a lot of good stuff. A lot of advanced advertising. Good stuff though for Facebook advertisers. The takeaways today, going back to the beginning, knowing that there's been a lot of changes. There's going to continue to be changes. It's an evolving platform. Facebook, wants to have a great place for everybody to come and have a great experience. So they're always going to be focused on having quality content and quality ads. So just be aware, it's always going to change, and that's good, and that's good for everybody. And then apply those best practices. Use it as a checklist when you're thinking about your campaigns and your strategy and making your schedule. Utilizing Power Editor to really take your campaigns to the next level. I mean, there's some great stuff in there, and I feel like we in talking to companies that it's very underutilized, and people just and some people just aren't even aware that it exists. But get into the Power Editor and take your campaigns to the next level. The social context that Deanna spoke about is really great. I mean, again, it's making advertising that people want to engage with and have a conversation over. So think about that when you're developing your strategy. And then of course measuring, always critical. You've got updated reporting, updated insights. Use all that information to measure how well your ads are performing. Comparing against the images that you're using, again, will only help you improve your advertising. and then adjust as needed. Continue to adjust and fine-tune and tweak, and you'll get better and better at it. And that's what we got for today. Andy, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah, all right. We do have some questions. So if we don't have time to get to your question, we will be emailing you following this to make sure that we follow up with you and get you an answer. So let me see what we've got here. Okay, so how often do you suggest you update your Facebook ads?
Sure. So, Facebook ad platform is a little bit unique you actually need to update your ads semi-regularly. You'll see in your reporting that you'll start to quickly lose impressions and clicks as your ad gets older. Facebook really likes fresh content. Nobody wants to see the same ad over and over. So I recommend, and Facebook recommends, updating your ad every 4 or so days. You can go longer than that, and it will be fine. But you will, if you look at your, at your reporting, you can see when it starts to kind of dive. That's when you should update your ad.
Got it. Great. All right. I think we probably have time for one more. I don't want to keep you guys too long today. I know it's busy with the holidays heading in. With the newsfeed ads, should I be worried about negative comments, and how can I moderate those?
Yeah, well, it's kind of part of the nature of being social, and we are always in support of making sure you have that social content around your advertising, because that's why people are on Facebook and on social networks, is to interact and they want to express their opinions, and they want to one of the options is, of course, let it run its course. People are going to talk, and they're going to, depending upon your ad, it may be like, it may not be that bad. A lot of people just sometimes, want to have opinion or want to be negative because that's just the way they are. But then, there could be something that's, that they might have a point, regarding your ad, and then you might need to fine-tune your ad, and you can simply respond also by just saying, thank you, for sharing that with us or letting us know, and we'll, make the change or whatever. So, again, it really depends upon the ad. Deanna, do you have anything? I mean, you're.
Sure. Yeah. So with those ads, I would just say that notifications do come to your Facebook page, so you'll be able to see if somebody comments on those ads. And then, like Jay said, normally, if it's not too bad, I would just let it go. But if they're really, saying some bad things about your product or service, you can delete those comments, and they will still be visible to the person that posted it and their friends, but it won't be visible to anybody else. So they won't know that you deleted the comment, and then you don't have to worry about further backlash from deleting the comment. So feel free to delete those comments, if they are really negative.
Great. Okay. I think we are at the end of our time for today. So thank you for attending. A live recording will be made available for you within 24 hours, and you can find more SIM resources at our Resource Center. Here is the URL, just in case you want a quick, easy jaunt over there.